So some of these doomsday scenarios that FICA is going to close off foreign collaborations, if that is correct, we as a government must have suddenly gone mad. Because in a country like Singapore, which depends so much on the flow of ideas and international collaboration, is that even thinkable? But the difficulty we face at MHA, and which many other countries face when dealing with this foreign interference issue, is that out of 10,000 interactions, one might be the sort that we are interested in, where there is an attempt to interfere. And foreign agencies, and even non-agencies, NGOs, others, will try and present a legitimate front. So the language has got to be broad enough to cover that what is apparently normal, but is actually not normal. And it's not only the classic foreign state agency subversion sort of thing. It could be foreign associations, NGOs, even individuals who want to change our laws, for example. But so you've got to look carefully at what they are doing. What are all the factors taken in overall? Using the proportionality test. What sort of issue are they focusing on? What's the possible impact? Is there funding involved? But the central guiding principle that Singaporeans should primarily decide on issues of importance to ourselves. If you turn specifically to academics, questions have been raised about their collaborations with non-Singaporeans. They collaborate, create, partner, pursue their research interests professionally. No HIC. It doesn't come within FICA. So the bill will not affect the vast amount of academic work that is being done. We value the intellectual output, collaborations, exchange of ideas, the work our academics do. And they need to link with the rest of the world for work, bona fide and professional work, not affected. It is important for Singapore. But in some situations, there are academics who go into a different realm around the world, and they are dealt with like we did with Huang Jing. There is another threat to some of the points made, underlying all of these explanations and illustrations, that the government's position and explanations are good, but the powers can be abused. They can be used for a wrong purpose. The worry is that the government will abuse its power and shut down legitimate cooperation because it doesn't like it. So there are 2 points here. One, the powers that are necessary to deal with the threat. Second, the possibility of abuse of these powers. So far I've explained why the powers are necessary and why these powers are no more extent, in fact less so than the powers that already exist, but it's more calibration for the internet age. So bearing that in mind, I will deal separately later with abuse of powers. But fundamental principle is the intention, and we do not believe the legislation prevents bona fide exchange of ideas. Can a government abuse the power? Any government can abuse this power and any power. So we'll come to that and what should be the checks and balances for that. There have also been others beyond these concerns, others who have been actively trying to put out misinformation about the bill. Chief amongst them, Mr. Tham and Ms. Kirsten Han. Tham and Han, as I said in 2019 in the conference, take money from George Soros. Some of you may recall Soros Open Society Foundation's OSF has a history of getting involved in the domestic politics of sovereign countries. So in 2018, Accra rejected Tham and Han's attempt to register a company funded by OSF to organize democracy classroom sessions in Singapore. They have set up an organization called New Narrative, which receives significant foreign funding. New Narrative organized a series of democracy classrooms focusing on Malaysia and supported by the US Embassy in Kuala Lumpur. Make no mistake about it, we will say no to that in Singapore. You can organize democracy classrooms. We have no issues. Anyone can organize, anyone can criticize the current state of democracy, but it cannot be funded by Soros or the US Embassy or any other embassy. The nature of activity and who the funding is from will have to be considered in this context. I'll say a bit more about Tham and Han before I go on to discuss their objections. Tham wants our Independence Day to be 16th of September, which is Malaysia Day. He regrets that Singapore separated from Malaysia. On several occasions, he has publicly said that Singapore should become part of Malaysia again and celebrate independence on 16 September. Tham and Han and some other activists met with Dr. Mahathir on the 30th of August 2018. They asked Dr. Mahathir to bring democracy to Singapore, I suppose Malaysian-style democracy. Han described a social movement as, and I quote, the work that goes into potentially one day having 500,000 people on the streets. She has also said, when the government says foreigners should not influence domestic affairs or foreigners should not bring their country's politics into Singapore, we should push back on that as well, because why not? Because solidarity is important. Her view is that Malaysians can influence our politics. She says so openly. And I believe, I haven't seen it, but I assume the petition that the PSP is presenting in Parliament is the one that is inspired by Ms. Han. So I would like to know whether they agree with this statement that Singaporeans should push back and say foreigners should be able to influence domestic affairs in Singapore. So members can see why the two of them are very concerned that FICA will focus on foreign funding and have been mounting their own disinformation campaign. Han has been posting on social media extensively, I told over 100 tweets, posts and so on, organized a petition, sent around email templates for people to write to the MPs. Tham has meanwhile written a commentary calling this bill a stealth coup by me, basically that I am personally going to take over Singapore and all my colleagues have to be very concerned. And I suppose a coup means that I take over from the Prime Minister. A coup in Singapore. Prime Minister needs to be very concerned too. It requires a turn of mind completely at odds with reality and living in fantasy to think of a coup in Singapore. Mr. Tham forgets that if that is his fear, that I am going to mount a coup, then I or any Minister of Home Affairs has far more powers under other legislation, the ISA, the CLTPA, the MRHA, including the powers of detention. FICA, in contrast, is a toy gun. It gives powers to give directions. So members can see there is no limit to the absurdities and fantasies that some will put out. And an Oxford education is in itself does not immunize one from spouting such nonsense. But I can see that they are concerned. Han has said in arguing against this bill that it's difficult to get money for these causes in Singapore, so foreign funding is necessary. So you can see, I mean, if Singaporeans are excited about it, interested, they will contribute. Or because they won't contribute, therefore I need foreign funding. Mr. Terry Shue has joined Han in starting the petition, which some groups have signed up to. I'm not sure how many of these groups know what Tham and Han's objectives are. We will look at the petition later that's being put up in Parliament by PSP. And I think members can look at it in the context of who inspired them and how today's PSP is completely aligned, it appears, with what Tham and Han want to achieve. Mr. Speaker, sir, if the points raised in the petition, assuming it is the same petition that we see online, I have dealt with most of them, I'm dealing with them. We can debate the points today, and I would say Parliament can fully consider and debate the points today. There's no need to do it at another session. Mr. Terry Hsu, as many of us know, and as I said in the September 2019 speech at the conference, uses Malaysian and other foreign writers to write incendiary articles on Singapore without bylines and without identification. The articles include a call for Singaporean civil servants to march on the streets like their Hong Kong counterparts. So you read the articles, what will readers think? These are from local writers writing about Singapore in these terms. But the articles are often by foreign writers who are paid to write these stories. The more incendiary, the better. Now, Mr. Hsu and others can continue to do this even after FICA, but a direction can be given to them to make it clear that the article is by a foreigner. We all want transparency, right? So it'll be useful for Singaporeans to know whether the writer of the article is local or foreign. FICA will allow us to issue a transparency directive requiring Singaporeans to be told upfront who the article is written by, what nationality the author has. Now, sir, moving on to a slightly different topic. For HIC directions, appeals go to an independent reviewing tribunal, which has the power to overrule the minister. The tribunal is headed by a Supreme Court judge. Appeals are made to this tribunal and not the court so as to protect sensitive information that may be relied on to make a decision. For example, we may determine that foreign interference based on a tip-off, sensitive information shared by a foreign counterpart security agency, and the consequences of a leak would be very serious. Most Singaporeans understand the need for this legislation.